iWorks suite of products includes Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. Before we start using any of those products, there are a couple of things that we want to check on our iPad. You will want to navigate to your settings. Once settings have loaded, you want to check your Apple ID, which also includes information about your iCloud and your iTunes. In this case, we're interested in iCloud. We're going to tap on iCloud, allow that to load, and you will scroll down until you can find iCloud Drive. If your iCloud Drive is turned on, it will be green. If it's turned off, obviously it will be white and gray. If your iCloud Drive is turned on, you have the ability to save files to the cloud so that they are not stored on your iPad. Obviously, this reduces the amount of space that is being consumed on your iPad by files that you create. As a teacher, you may find that you want to have this option turned on. So notice that I have this option turned on for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, so I have the ability to save my files in my iCloud Drive if I would like. I can also save them locally on my own iPad. GCSE teachers, please be aware that students will not have the option to use their iCloud Drive. All files students create will be saved locally on their iPad, and this will impact the amount of storage that they have. This is because students use what's called a managed Apple ID that is managed by the school corporation, and therefore they do not have access to the iCloud Drive feature. So again, this is just something that you want to explore for your own personal iPad, and you will want to use this if the space on your iPad is limited and you envision creating a large number of documents with the iWorks suite. Now that you've checked a few basic settings, let's learn about our iWorks product. Now that you've learned some general information about iWorks, let's start working in Numbers. I'm going to tap on Numbers to start. Once Numbers loads, you will see a number of familiar options that were discussed earlier in the video. You have the ability to browse for documents on your iPad or on your iCloud Drive. You also have the ability to look at your recent documents, and you have the ability to search for documents right there. If you would like to start a new document, click the plus button, and you will be taken to an area that will allow you to choose a template. You have a number of options: basic, personal finance, personal, business, or education. For the purposes of demonstration for this video, I am simply going to choose a blank document. Once your document loads, you will see a number of options that are available to you within Numbers. First of all, I would like to point out a few basic things about the function and operations of a spreadsheet. You have rows, which go across the spreadsheet, and you have columns which go up and down. Where a row and a column meets, that is a cell. Hopefully everyone is aware of that, but it's always good to review some of the basic operations of a spreadsheet. If you click on an entire row, notice you have the lightning bolt and in the row. That will give you some quick options. You can add a row above or below your current row. You can also hide the row, and you can choose from some quick formulas right there. You can also copy the row for pasting later on if you would like. I can tap anywhere back on the spreadsheet to leave that menu, and if I tap a column, I have the exact same option. I have the lightning bolt in the column, and I can add a column before or after the current column. Here I can also add a filter. I can add categories, I can hide the column, and I also have quick formulas here as well. Notice I can copy for pasting later at the top as well. Exiting that again, just choosing a cell. Notice I have the lightning bolt and I have the cell. I have very similar options for a cell. I can copy it for later. I have today's date, the current time. I can insert a new formula, a stock quote. I can add a comment or choose from a quick formula there as well. To exit, again, I will just tap on a cell anywhere in the spreadsheet. Notice if I tap a column, I will also have the column actions option which will appear, and that will give me the same thing as the lightning bolt in the column. And that is true for a row as well. So I also have row actions there as well. Notice that I can paste and delete from either the row or from the column. If I would like to add a row or a column beyond what I am given at the beginning of the spreadsheet, I can click the double bar right there, and it will add an additional column in this case, or if I want to add a row, it will add an additional row at the bottom right there. If I select the blue circle in the far upper left-hand corner to the left of cell A and above row 1, that will allow me to take an action for the entire table. I can click on Table Actions, and I can choose to copy the table, or I can transpose rows and columns. Again, to leave that menu, I'm just going to click somewhere on the spreadsheet or tap somewhere on the spreadsheet. You may find that you want to add more than one sheet to your spreadsheet. To do that, you would click the plus button to the left of Sheet 1, and that will give you Sheet 2. To name either Sheet 1 or Sheet 2, you're just going to tap on that, double tap on that, and it will give you the name. Your keyboard will pop up, and I can call this Example 1, and hit Done. And if I want to name Sheet 2, Example 2, again, I can double tap there, and I can call it Example 2, and I can hit Done there. And I can then toggle back and forth between those spreadsheets. After you have named your sheets and toggled to the appropriate location, you may find that you want to also type information into a cell, and you can hit the keyboard and you will have access to letters or numbers, and you can choose which option you would prefer depending on what you are entering. To hide the keyboard, of course, hit the keyboard button in the lower right hand corner. Last but certainly not least, you will want to name your entire document. So I can tap right here, and if I want to call this my numbers example, I can type that in using the keyboard, assuming that I'm going to type correctly. And I can call that numbers example and then hit done. And now my spreadsheet is named. I have 2 sheets within this workbook, and I can exit out of this. And at any point, I can return to numbers. And if I click spreadsheets, it will show me all of my spreadsheets. And if I want to open the example that I just created, all I do is tap that, and that document will be open. Once you are familiar with the basic layout for numbers and how rows, columns, and cells function, there are a number of other options that you can explore. In the upper right hand corner, on the far left side of the options, you will see the paintbrush option. If you click right there, you will see there are a number of options, and each of those options have sub-options within them. First, on the farthest left is the table option. Here you have the ability to change the layout of your table by choosing some of the pre-selected options that are available. If you want to leave it as a default, you can click the upper left-hand corner. The header and footer option allows you to change the number of header and footer rows, and you can see those are marked in this case by the darker gray on the row or the column. So I can increase or decrease the number of header rows that I have in my sheet. I can turn off the table name, or I can turn on the table name. I can turn on or off the table outline, a very subtle difference. I can turn on alternating rows so that I have white and then gray and then white and then gray. And I also have the ability to explore various grid options if I'm interested in those. And I can also change the font for the entire table as well as the size of font for the entire table as well. Those are the options under the table setting. Clicking on the cell option just to the right of table, you have a number of options here. You can change the font for a particular cell. You can change the attributes of a font, whether it's bold, italicized, underlined, or struck through. You can change the size, the color, the orientation, both horizontally and vertically. You can choose to wrap text in that cell. You can choose to fill that cell with a different color if you would like. You can press back after you've chosen the color, and you can choose the border style as well. You can also add conditional highlighting, which is known as conditional formatting in other spreadsheet programs, but this highlights a cell only if it meets certain conditions. So if you want things to be highlighted that are equal to or greater than 50, you would choose that option and you would enter the number that you want and then this color scheme that you would like, and that would change the format of that cell only if it meets that requirement. To the right of cell is format, and here you have a variety of styles related to numbers, so you can choose various forms of currency and percentages, date and time, options like those. You can also choose just a plain text option if you would like as well. And to the right of that is a range, and this is if you have multiple items, which item is going to be in the front and which item is going to be in the back. And those are a few of the items that are available under the formatting option within Numbers. To demonstrate filtering and sorting, I have a separate sheet other than the one that I showed in the first portion of the video. You can see there are some cities listed along with their distances from Greencastle. Let's say that I want to sort those based on their distance from Greencastle. I'm going to choose the filter and sort option. I'm going to select that I want to sort the entire table. I'm going to add the column to sort by, so in this case distance. And then I have the option to choose ascending or descending. And as you can see, ascending lists the cities from closest, Chicago, to the farthest, Austin. And if I reverse that to descending, it's going to show the farthest, Austin at the top, and then Chicago at the bottom. So I can change those at any point by choosing ascending or descending order. And then I can click back and I now have the list of cities from closest to farthest away. You may have noticed there, going back, that you have the ability to add a column. Now in this case, the only other way that I could sort would be alphabetically, and no cities are the same distance, so it wouldn't do me any good to sort that way. But if I have multiple columns of data, I may find that I want to add a column. Or if I want to change this column, I can go to Edit and I can remove that column. And let's say that I want to filter them alphabetically for whatever reason. I can now sort ascending, and so we see that Austin is at the top and Washington, D.C. is at the bottom. Or I can go descending, and of course Washington, D.C. will be at the top and Austin will be at the bottom. So I can choose whatever category I want to sort by and easily complete that operation. To demonstrate filtering, I have another sheet, and this time I have 4 students' names and their scores on the final exam and 3 other tests. I'm going to sort that table by tapping on the table and then clicking the filter and sort operation. Of course, this time I want filter instead of sort. I'm going to choose the column that I want to filter, and I'm going to choose the final exam column. Let's say that I want to see only students who achieved a 75 or above on the final exam. So I'm going to choose greater than or equal to, and I'm going to choose 75, and then I'm going to click done. And that filter will stay in place. Notice it removed one student's name, so 3 of the 4 students scored a 75 or above on the final exam. Let's say that I want to add another rule. I can add another rule to that same column of data if I would like, or I can add another filter. So let's say that I now want to see students who scored a 90 or above on test number 3. So I'm going to choose greater than or equal to 90, and I'm going to hit return and then done. And now notice only one student, Susie, met those 2 criteria. She scored above an 86 on the final exam, and above a 75 on the final exam, and above a 90 on test number 3. At any point, I can delete any of those filters by going back and selecting delete rule, and notice that filter has been removed. So very easy to delete a rule and also to add a new filter if you would like. A number of categories you can filter by, and feel free to explore those and look at those, as there are lots of different things that you can do with the filtering operation as well. Both sorting and filtering are something that are extremely important when looking at large amounts of data. To the right of filter and sort, you have the ability to add a number of options into your sheet. Clicking the plus button there, starting on the far left, you have the ability to add another table. And again, we can scroll within those options to see that there are sub-options. And I have the ability to add a chart or a graph. We'll come back to this one in just a couple of minutes. I have the ability to add various objects and clip art. And on the far right, I have the ability to add different multimedia. Because I feel with a spreadsheet that the graph and chart option is probably going to be the most useful, let's focus on that one. So I'm going to tap on this table, and I'm then going to click back on the plus button. And let's say that I want to create just a simple bar graph of the student's score. So I can see there's what Sally, Susie, Tommy, and Timmy scored on their final exam and the tests 1 through 3. And those are all color coordinated. And that's great if you want to view all their test scores. Maybe I just want the final exam. If that is the case, I can hold and select the cells that I want, and then I can add another bar graph. And now I can see just the final exams for those students, and I can see how they break out compared to each other, or how they break out compared to all of the other tests. So it's very easy to add charts and graphs with numbers, and this is something that I think is very important for students to understand and develop as they develop number sense, and the ability to work with data tables is taking that data and converting it into a visual format. The last thing I will draw your attention to are the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner, and this will allow you to access a number of other settings that we have not discussed so far in our basic tour of numbers. You have the ability to collaborate with others. That's a relatively new feature within the iWork suite, but you can choose other users to collaborate with so that both of you can work on the document at the same time. You can share, export, print, you can install guides, you can play with the settings, and you can seek help in the numbers help area. I will again draw your attention to the export option. I say again, if you took the Pages and Keynote courses or watched those videos, you will know that numbers only works on devices that are associated with Mac. So if you are sharing this with someone who has a Mac or who has an iPad, that's wonderful, and they will be able to edit it just the way you have been able to. However, if that person does not have those devices, they will need to receive the file in a different way. If you just want someone to see the information, a PDF is always the way to go. If you actually want them to manipulate the information and you know they have Excel, save it in an Excel format and share it with them that way. However, for most of what we do here at school, a PDF will work fine. You can select PDF and you can choose how you would like to export, and once you have exported, it will generate a PDF, and then you choose how you want to send that, and you can send that through Google Drive, or you can send it through your email. You can copy to Notability. There are a number of options there for you to explore as you go about doing that. So make sure if the person you're sharing with does not have access to Apple products, that you save it and share it in a PDF format. That concludes the very basic tour of numbers. This is a program that can be useful for teachers and for students, especially as students are developing that number sense and learning a little bit about how to turn numbers into a visual representation. Apple, as always, does a great job of making things very visual for students to understand in this case. If you have any questions about numbers, please let me know. Otherwise, good luck.